In this video, I'm going to talk about cross-training for ultra running and how it can complement your training and make you an all-round better runner. By cross-training, I mean doing any training that isn't running specifically. So any other discipline, any other sport that isn't running in itself. So it could be strength and conditioning, and I have done a video specifically on strength and conditioning. I'll put a link to that up there so you can check that out. But then there also could be cycling. Anyone who's followed the channel for a while will have seen that I do quite a lot of cycling. You can also check that out on my Strava, link down below. And then also things like swimming and lots of other different sports, whether that be exercise classes or it may be team sports as well, which may constitute as cross-training. There are multiple benefits to cross-training for ultra running, and historically people thought the more you ran the better you get, but times have changed and realised that actually cross-training and implementing that into a well-structured training plan will have multiple benefits for your training overall. And one of the key ones is strength and conditioning and working on any weaknesses which you may have. Now, looking at a specific sport which may also help, I'm going to focus on cycling as that's one which I am closest to, but you could take this and transfer a lot of this information to things such as swimming as well, and also say for example indoor rowing and various other sports and exercise classes as I mentioned. So with cycling is that first off, it allows you to do a different exercise which still works your muscles, it also works your cardiovascular system, but has a different impact on the body than running alone. With running being such a high impact sport, then things such as cycling, which are low impact, complement it very well. So you can still go out and do long bike rides if you're a bit sore after a long run session, for example, and get a cardiovascular benefit and get a good workout in without putting any more strain on your joints and ligaments. So a typical session may be a high intensity interval session on an indoor trainer, for example, or it may be a long ride outside on the road on a road bike. And also cycling is great for building leg strength as well as a strong heart and lungs, because it works the muscles in a slightly different way from running, and building up the power required to improve your cycling speed helps transfer that across to running as well. You can do high intensity interval efforts, for example on an indoor trainer or a stationary bike such as a watt bike in a gym, or alternatively you can go out and do those similar sessions on the road, or also the alternative is doing more long, slow, steady rides. And I tend to use a combination of the two to complement my run training, and it will very much depend on what phase of the training I am in. And so it's not just using a standard one size fits all with your cross training, but also making sure that that complements the phase of your run training plan as well. So as I'm looking at getting closer to the race, for example, and doing longer distances in my run training, I may also incorporate longer cycle rides. So I can potentially do, for example, a long bike ride on a Saturday followed by an hour's run, and then the next day I would do my long run. So I can do 2 long days back to back over the weekend, but the impact on the body is less, so on the Monday morning I'm not achy. The other alternative is doing things such as recovery cycles as well, rather than recovery runs. So after that long run on a Sunday, I may then go out on the bike and do an easy 30 minutes to 1 hour fasted heart rate zone 1 cycle, just to get the legs moving, the blood flowing, but it doesn't have the impact that running does on my feet and my joints, as I mentioned previously. With respect to the high intensity interval efforts, they are great as well because it gets the blood flowing, the heart and lungs, it works the cardiovascular system, but it is worth noting that cycling and a lot of the cross-training disciplines such as swimming don't have the same aerobic benefit as running does over the same duration. So the likelihood is, assuming you're working at similar intensities, you will have to go for longer to get the same cardiovascular benefit when you're doing the cross-training. And that's because it's not fully load bearing. It doesn't take the whole weight, for example, off the body. When you're swimming, the water supports it. When you're cycling, it's low impact. Another good feature about cycling in particular is that you can make use of standing out of the saddle as well as sitting, so you can work the muscles in different ways from that one cross-training exercise. I also touched on strength and conditioning, and as I mentioned, I have done another video on that in particular, and I think that although it's classed as cross training for running, I would say that that is a fundamental element of your ultra running. And if you haven't seen that video, I highly recommend it, because I think it's crucial to have a well-structured strength and conditioning plan as part of your ultra training. I hope you found this video useful. If you have, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. I'd love to hear what type of cross training you do to support your run training. Please leave some comments down below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future content, and I'll see you next time.